All right, I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for Monday, June 16th, 2025. Welcome, everybody. Public comment is item number 2. I don't see anyone in the audience. I'm assuming you don't have any turned in sheets, Bonnie? All right, well, moving on to item number 3, approval of the minutes. In our packet was the minutes for May 12th, 2025. Bonnie, did you receive any corrections? Anyone have any at this time? All right, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, the minutes are approved. Item number 4, discussion and consideration. We have the 2025-2026 preliminary budget. Adrian, I see you there. Dr. Barrett, if you'd like to.
Yeah, so Adrian Ramirez is here to run through the preliminary budget for us. So, you know, we've got this is a whole cascade that we're very familiar with, and glad Adrian's here tonight to take us through this process. So he'll take us through, and then I think he'll be sharing again with the board, full board at our full board meeting a little bit later tonight. Yeah, I think just hold it. Is it? Come see. Don't be.
Oh, I got it. I see it now. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. We hear you.
Okay, so this is good. You guys can hear me? Or
Closer.
yeah, can you hear me?
There you go.
Better. Okay, so as Dr. Barrett mentioned, I'll be walking you guys through the draft budget for fiscal year 25-26. This presentation outlines key revenue and expenditure assumptions, fund by fund highlights, and areas of focus as we prepare for the upcoming school year. So here are the assumptions we use that are behind our projections. EAV property taxes, there's a 3% increase, and that's driven by CPI and new construction in the district. EBF, which is our evidence-based funding, our state revenue, is maintained at $4,288,000, which is consistent with what we received in recent years. So new construction in the district, so new housing, that's projected to be between 12 million and 15 million. As far as our investments go, we're expected to receive average to good returns on all the investments we have with PMA and Fifth Third. This past year, we saw CD rates go up as high as over 5%. This year, we've seen a dip with the rates going down to 4%, but we still expect good investment returns. As far as our capital support, so we use internal and fund balance transfers to cover our capital plan. Right now, that's our only funding source, along with interest income. So on the expenditure side, that's based off current contracts, CBA, working agreements, and assuming that we're fully staffed for this school year. At this time, I know HR is still working hard on dealing with recent resignations, trying to get all staffing done, so that does fluctuate. As far as benefits goes, we are accounting for expected increases in health insurance and required pension contributions. You know, the final cost does depend on which plans the employees choose as far as health insurance and life insurance goes. For purchase services, we have contracts that we already have in place. For example, our contracts with our engineers, our architects, our software vendors. Oops. For supplies and material, that's based on support initiatives, and it does reflect CPI for this past year. Our capital covers major equipment purchases and continued investment in our capital improvement plan, and this may be adjusted based on summer projects and other variables that does have an impact. Other expenses include like dues, fees, contingencies, tuition for students placed in programs like our Mid-Valley, like in Mid-Valley or in the Fox Valley Career Center. And then we have non-capital equipment. This is for replacing our equipment or purchasing equipment that's under $3,000. Any questions on that? And feel free to stop me and ask any questions as I go through the slides. So the first fund I'll be going through is our education fund, our biggest operating fund. So this slide shows the original budget for 23-24, our actuals from that year, our current projections for 24-25, and our draft budget for 25-26. So this helps us compare how things have changed over time. It helps us identify any shifts in funding or spending, and helps us guide for this. This is a guide for us to help us plan for the next school year. So on the revenue side for local tax, we see an increase of over 1.8 million. This is due to the new construction and the 3% increase in EAV. On our local side, so what we receive in revenue on the local side is student fees, investment earnings. So we are planning for a decrease in that just because the rates are going down and from peak levels that we saw last year. So we are planning for a dip in that. One variable that's still unknown is a personal property replacement plan, also known as PPRT. We won't know what we're getting in PPRT until August, so that number will impact local. As far as state goes, we're projecting $3 million.
In your budget, what did you estimate, or what was your assumption for the PPRT?
So I think this past year we had 1.7 million, and I think here we're projecting probably between 1.4 and 1.5. I'll have to double check that with Todd. As far as As far as state goes, so that's funded by EBF, or evidence-based funding. Federal is expected to decrease by 125,000, mainly due to the phase out of ESSER and COVID-related funds. So that money has gone away. I do think we were able to spend ESSER money through September of last year, so that's gone. And we won't know final state and federal amounts until after June. That's normally when those budgets are approved by the state and by federal. So despite these variables and reductions in certain areas, we're still projecting a net increase of around 1,048,000 compared to last year. So now moving on to the expense side, salaries are budgeted at 57.29 million, up from last year. And as I mentioned before, this is all based on contract obligations and assuming that we're fully staffed. Benefits are also increasing. We're seeing a decrease in purchase services. That's just mostly due to the timing of contracted services. Supplies, we're seeing an increase, and that's mostly reflected in what we were given as far as the budget goes for supplies this past spring. So we send out budget forms to the different departments, and we work with different administrators to come up with what they need in supplies, and we also take into account inflation.
Yeah, but if you look at where your spending is this year, it's about 1.1 million, and you're looking at to be about almost 2 million for next year. That's a huge increase.
Yeah.
What's the driver of that?
I think for the projected,
I mean, the project is your best guess, I assume, for this year.
Yeah.
So I'm more concerned about why is it jumping from 1.1 to 2.0 basically for from this year to next?
So I think that number, I think part of the issue we have is some of our expenses post late, and so that number isn't, probably should be estimated a little higher.
But wouldn't you have the same issue as you go in for next year? You budget, I'm sure, that it all spent in next year, but some things are posted late at
Yeah.
at June of next year or July of next, don't get in. So, I mean, I consider that kind of a wash.
I guess the question I would have, Adrian, do you know, and maybe we can save this for Todd and get more information from Todd. One of the questions I would have along those lines would be, is some of that 1.9 because some of that budgeted 1.5 you're saying would be spent in 26, and so really they would actually be kind of closer to the same.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the way we do cash basis accounting here versus accrual. Once the auditors kind of go through our financials, they'll do an accrual entry, and I think that's part of the reason. And part of it is the way some of our transactions post late. But I'll talk to Todd about it.
Yeah, we can ask
Okay,
Todd to
thank you.
follow up too.
Yeah. Okay. So as far as capital and non-capital, that remains pretty much consistent. Other uses include tuition for outplaced students and other obligations. So I think over on the education fund, we're seeing moderate revenue growth, mainly from local property taxes as expenditures continue to rise, mostly driven by staffing, benefits, and we also don't know how inflation will look like, so just something we continue to monitor. So right now there's a difference. We're looking at a deficit of around 410,000 for this year in the education fund. Okay, now on to O&M. So we're projecting a total revenue of 15.69 million, which is a decrease of 346,000 from the current year's projection. Some local revenue is down approximately 347,000, primarily due to reaching a maximum level allowed under PTEL. As CPI continues to trend down, that cuts our ability to increase the tax extension. So currently that fund is levy capped. Other local revenue for the O&M is rental income, parking fees, interest earnings. That remains flat at around 393,000. State revenue. So part of our EBF, evidence-based funding, is allocated to O&M and to the education fund. That's just something we're allowed to do. It helps offset that the O&M fund is tax capped. So that's on the revenue side, and historically what this district has done whenever there is any unspent funds in O&M is they'll transfer to capital to fund that fund and cover any projects. On the expenditure side, we're projecting a total of 14.49 million, which is slightly down from fiscal year 24-25 budget, but about 1.25 million up from this year's projected accruals. So salaries and benefits reflect full staffing levels. One of the services that the district continues to outsource is custodial staff. Cost savings are anticipated due to recent retirements and hiring of a new director at a lowered salary. Purchase services make up a large portion of the budget contracted maintenance and repair services. Capital projects is the budget is at 607,000, reflecting facility projects identified for this fiscal year, and other uses remains flat. Those items can be either insurance. That's usually what comes out of that. Any questions with O&M? So moving on to our debt service fund. Um, this fund is used exclusively to pay off the district's outstanding bond, principal, and interest obligations. Currently, we're projecting a revenue of 15.17 million, which is an increase of 414,000 from fiscal year 24-25. So, to the revenue that goes into the debt service fund is property taxes and also interest income. We're seeing a dip in interest income, and an additional 1% was added by the county clerk to offset any potential fund property taxes that aren't paid. So they always add an additional 1%. On the expenditure side, we're budgeted at 14.18 million, which is about 225,000 lower than the prior year's budget due to the natural decline in scheduled debt payments. And last year we had paid off the leases we had on computers, so that was paid off last year, so that's no longer an expenditure for us. So the transportation fund for 25-26 is projected at 4.5 million, which is a decrease of about 457,000 from 24-25. Local tax revenue is slightly up at 119,000 as a result of regular levy growth. Other local revenue, which includes interest income, student rider fees, and bus sales, is down 194,000. This drop is due to lower interest earnings and lower bus sales. So state revenue is projected to be down this year 383,000. This is just a reflection and reduction in the state transportation reimbursement, which is tied to prior year expenses and current year allocation levels.
I might add to that, Adrian. I mean, this is one of the things we're watching, and I've been trying to provide the board with a little bit of update on some of these state funds when they were talking about the budget and passing this all at the 11th hour. The transportation reimbursement was one of the places that we anticipated, unfortunately, being lower. They're not going to fund it at the full level, we don't think, and that's going to have this impact. So it's just the reality of the sausage-making state budget process, I think.
Yeah, there are a lot of factors that go into the transportation reimbursement. We purchased a few buses in this current fiscal year, so we'll be able to apply the depreciation when we do the transportation reimbursement this year. So we're hoping that we'll get a feel of a better where we're at once we complete the transportation claim. So on the expenditure side, we're budgeted at 5.13 million, which is about 1.13 million less than the current year's budget and down from the projected 24-25 actuals. So salaries and benefits continue to make up a bulk of the transportation related transportation related staffing costs. Purchase services and supplies that covers fuel, repairs, and operations. Capital expenditures we're looking to spend, that includes 1.4 million budgeted for bus purchases, and which are planned. This was all planned investments. Moving on to our retirement fund, which covers IMRF, Social Security, and Medicare. Total revenues are projected at 3.62 million, an increase of about 106,000. The income that goes into this fund is from property taxes and interest. As you can see, we'll have a surplus of around 167,000, and that just gives us a cushion to fight off any unplanned rates that go up like IMRF, and also helps us with unexpected staffing additions. So it is a fund that we look into breaking even. So even though there's a cushion of 167,000 that's planned, and we believe that helps us. On the capital project side, so right now this shows income of 125,000, which is interest earned. This does not reflect any internal fund transfers. On the expenditure side, as part of our capital improvement plan, we have 7.788 million expected to be used to fund our capital improvement plan. Our working cash fund which is a non-operating fund designed to help the district manage cash flow throughout the year. It's essentially the district's internal loan fund. That the income that they receive is just interest income, so we're just building up that fund. The tort fund, which is our risk management fund, this has not been used for any expenditures in years, so right now we have a low balance of 32,000. Most of our insurance is paid from the education fund, so historically this fund has not really been used to make any to pay anything. Our life safety fund, used for specific state approved facility projects that address health, life, and safety concerns across the district. Right now, the only income they receive is interest income, so we're projected 20,000, and as far as expenditure goes, these will fluctuate depending on when these projects are completed and when we pay those invoices. So right now we're budgeted at 140,000, but it is dependent on when the projects are completed. And in this slide, we are able to see that it shows the district-wide view of all the funds combined. So it gives a summary of where we're at. So currently right now, we are expected to have revenues of total 120,557,000 versus expenses that we project to be at 126,359,000. So that leaves a difference of 5.8 million. So here's what's driving the cost is salaries are up, benefits are up, capital expenditures. So these are just areas that we plan for, and our intention is to use up those fund balances that have been built up over the past few years. Did I go? I don't know if I skipped this slide. Oh, this slide. Yeah, so this slide, it's pretty much shows the same numbers, but so we'll be at 120,557,000 and 126,359,000. So this just shows the sum total for all our funds for salaries, benefits, services. Here's where it shows where the budget will be for each fund. And here are some areas that we'll continue to monitor as the school year goes on. We'll be looking at how inflation looks like, labor shortages and supply chain challenges continue to affect. We'll see how that continues to affect pricing and services availability. Inflation continues to exceed 2.5%. So it's just something we'll continue to monitor. I think we're looking at an increase in utility costs. Fuel costs remain to be volatile and it can impact our transportation budget. We'll also monitor how our investments look like. We do our best to kind of make sure we plan out the school year and make sure we're able to earn as much as we can when it comes to investments. So we'll continue to monitor that. I think throughout the school year. We always have staffing challenges. We'll continue to monitor enrollment changes as that impacts class size and staffing. We'll also, well, we have projected capital costs. That can fluctuate. We're spending a lot of money on the capital plan, but there are also many factors that go into why we could go over our capital, our plan, or what we allocated. There's just a lot that goes into that. We're also looking at selling a few buses, and what we've come to find is that selling to other bus companies, they're really trying to, pretty much
Lowball.
It's,
Yeah.
that's what Todd has come to find. So it's something we'll continue to look at. We'll make sure that we reach out to other districts, other neighboring districts, to let them know that we have buses for sale. So something that we're working on. Health benefit enrollment challenges. We've had increase in all our insurance rates, HMO. I think PPO did go down, but something we'll continue to monitor. And then our 2024-2025 ending fund balances. So fiscal year ends at the end of June 30th. Once we get our financials in, we get all our transactions, we get our audit done, we'll know where we're at as far as the funding balances go. So it's just something we continue to do, is to monitor costs closely, maintain strong reserves, and just being able to adjust based on what's going on in the world, what's going around in the district, anything that we may come across can impact our financial state.
Any questions?
I just have one. Thank you. Appreciate all the work and the presentation. I guess this is more for Andy. One of the biggest expenditure besides salary and benefits that we have in our budget is the capital projects, and I know we have to be determined. Have we had that presentation yet in terms of next year's capital projects? And trying to remember what
We did that much earlier this year,
That's
so
right.
we do know what's on the docket for next year. And actually, I would guess, I don't want to speak for them, but I would guess in the full board meeting, we'll hear a little bit from Larry and Paul from the Facilities Task Force. We
Sure.
were just talking today not only about the plan for next year, but our longer term plan as we're starting to look at some of this. But we do have all the capital projects laid out that
Sure.
would be happening next year, and
Okay.
it's about in that same $8 million range for
Okay.
next
All
year.
right. So that because of that fund balance in terms of what we need to, I mean, right now it's just to be determined. So I just wonder what that
Yeah.
maybe. So we're
Yeah.
roughly around the same as last year then.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is all something we'll be having a lot more conversation about in the coming months and years, I think.
You bet. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Adrian.
All right, we have nothing under future agenda items. Item number 6, items for recommendation to the full board. We have the 2025-2026 preliminary budget, which we just heard. I'll make a motion to move that onto the full board. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, we'll move that on for consideration, or to hear about it at our next meeting. Information, legislative update. Dr. Barrett, you mentioned a little bit about the transportation already. Funding is part of this. I don't have anything to add at this time. Do you have anything?
No, I don't, other than, again, that the way the budget was very interesting this year, the way the state budget came to fruition. So very last minute, and I think our biggest concern is, again, those mandated categoricals, stuff like transportation, and the fact that we will not be getting everything that we would otherwise expect based on some of the statutes.
All right, thank you. And that brings us to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.